This video was sponsored by Skillshare. I'll tell you more about them at the end of the video. Hey, happy Friday. This week we'll talk about Bitcoin having a crazy week. We'll also talk about the strategy of nothing, as in the company nothing, and we'll also talk about Clubhouse and all of its clones. As always, we also have a weekly tech knowledge quiz with 20 brand new questions. Getting at least 15 of them right means you can ask for a code for my gadget review community, Crowd. Links are in the description. Happy quizzing and welcome to the Friday checkout. Okay, my first story of the week will be cryptocurrencies and especially Bitcoin having quite an explosive week. Tesla bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin earlier this week, becoming the second largest corporate shareholder in the currency according to Bloomberg, and said it would start accepting payments for its cars in Bitcoin soon, which is potentially a huge deal, because despite being technically a currency, Bitcoin isn't frequently used for payments as transactions are too slow and cumbersome for the day-to-day purchases like buying a coffee, for example. But for something as expensive and infrequent as buying a Tesla, it might just be viable, making this one of the first real-world use cases for paying with Bitcoin. Also, the company apparently has $19 billion of cash on hand, so it might make sense to do something with that other than just sitting on it. Square, the payment provider founded by the Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, came to this realization first when it put some of its cash reserves into Bitcoin a few months ago, and this might be a trend for companies hoarding cash in the future. Apple, the company that is sitting on $200 billion of cash, was rumored to follow Tesla's lead in buying Bitcoin too, but that's just a rumor so far, and many speculate that Apple doesn't like the environmental impact Bitcoin mining has. Nevertheless, multiple large banks, including the Bank of New York Mellon, have started storing and processing cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, for their clients this week, and MasterCard said that they would start allowing crypto transactions over their network too, although with a pretty big asterisk here. MasterCard explicitly says it would only deal in cryptocurrencies that meet its requirements on, quote, stability, privacy, and compliance with money laundering laws, which almost no cryptocurrencies do. And India is apparently considering a full ban on decentralized cryptocurrencies, so much of this is still in a limbo, but overall, all of the frenzy pushed the price of Bitcoin up by about 30% in a week to almost $50,000. So you could now buy an entire Tesla with just one Bitcoin. Now, I don't give investment advice on this channel, except for maybe asking you to not put money that you cannot afford to lose into speculative assets like Bitcoin, but I think it is pretty clear to see that as global trust in centralized institutions is going down, the interest of the people and the corporations around the world in decentralized solutions like Bitcoin is probably going to increase over time. Okay, my second story of the week will be Nothing, the company being very loud about launching basically nothing. Nothing, if you didn't know, is a new company founded by Carl Pei, who has left OnePlus earlier, and after months of hype, teasers, and all the good PR tricks we've come to learn, and at least in my case kind of hate from OnePlus, we have learned this week that they will announce wireless headphones sometime this summer. Now, that's a little underwhelming, to be honest. I mean, they've been hyping this company for a couple of months already, and summer is still pretty damn far away. So if we have to go through, like, I don't know, 7 months of hype just to get a pair of wireless headphones, which, to be honest, is a commodity by now, it sounds pretty exhausting, but we'll just have to wait and see. Carl has managed to find an impressive list of investors, including GV, or Google Ventures as it is once known, and he stresses that a whole suite of other smart connected consumer electronics are coming too, and that he's trying to build out an ecosystem where the devices should eventually connect to each other. And while he hasn't given us too much information beside that, I'd like to speculate a little bit on this ecosystem part, because I think there's basically two ways this could go. First, smart device ecosystems are currently completely dominated by phone makers like Xiaomi, Apple, and Samsung. Smartwatches and wireless earphones especially are things we buy as companion devices to our phones. So it makes sense that the big phone makers are the ones that can build these ecosystems most successfully and completely dominate sales. As the Bloomberg article shows, phone makers Apple, Xiaomi, and Samsung have over time completely dominated the sales of wireless earphones, and according to Counterpoint, it's a similar picture for smartwatches too, with only Garmin being able to carve out a real niche for itself with its highly specialized watches. Most standalone device companies like Fossil or Sennheiser are increasingly falling behind hard because phone makers are just much bigger companies with bigger R&D and marketing budgets who can create tighter integrations with smart devices, and they can just convince you to throw in a pair of earbuds at checkout while you're buying your phone. So my suspicion is that nothing has to either launch a phone to anchor its ecosystem eventually, or it has to do what Beats by Dre managed to pull off, which is going all out on creating a lifestyle brand around wearables, with super aggressive marketing to make their products something people want to buy over what comes by default from their phone makers. Okay, and my third story of the week will be the incredible amounts of hype and all the news coming out around Clubhouse. If you haven't heard of Clubhouse yet, it's a voice-only social media app. Kind of like live podcasting where you can create rooms around a topic, invite guests, and interact with your audience. The app launched less than a year ago in April as an invite-only space where the Silicon Valley elite could chat with each other, and then exploded in popularity by the pandemic, causing everyone to want to hang out with other people online, as well as by seemingly every tech billionaire, including Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, all the venture capitalists in the world, and more jumping on the platform. The app has passed 6 million downloads, and the company behind it is reportedly worth over $1 billion, despite being invite-only and iOS-only, making it arguably the fastest-growing social media app that we have seen yet. And yes, since I don't have an iPhone, you are seeing footage kindly provided to me by the Apple YouTuber Rene Ritchie himself. Thanks, Rene. Anyway, the news this week is that Facebook and Twitter both got the memo, and both are interested in basically cloning Clubhouse, while billionaire Mark Cuban is launching his own app called Fireside too. We don't know too much about Fireside or the Facebook clone yet, but the Facebook clone actually has two very interesting little details. One, Zuckerberg actually joined a Clubhouse session just 5 days before the news broke that they are building a clone. And two, the most prominent investor in both companies is the famous venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. In the list of top 10 most followed users on Clubhouse, you'll find Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, for example, but also other people from the firm like Andrew Chan, and on the board of directors of Facebook, for example, you'll find the very same Mark Andreessen. So there's this new kind of social media that basically everyone working in the industry seems to think is going to be the next big thing. And then there's this investor that is invested both in the company that invented it, as well as the company that is trying to clone and kill it. Good stuff. Anyway, the clone I am personally most interested in is that of Twitter, called Spaces, which they first teased at the end of last year and are just starting to roll out very slowly to a few users now. What is interesting in Twitter's approach is that they seem to be building the audio rooms right into the Twitter app itself. So for some people, I've seen them show up on the top bar among the fleets, but I've also seen them being posted in timelines, for example. Of course, the benefit here is that Spaces would be coming to Android at the same time as iOS, so us poor Android users can have our voice chats too, and it would allow you to just join Spaces with your existing Twitter contacts instead of having to start your network from scratch. Audio and spoken words as a medium are clearly becoming incredibly popular as apps like Clubhouse, as well as podcasting apps like Anchor, for example, which was recently bought by Spotify, are making it incredibly easy to record, publish, and also find an audience for your recordings. So if you are interested in starting your own podcast, here's everything you need to know to get started. This class on how to make a podcast gives you a really nice breakdown of everything it takes to plan, record, and launch a podcast in 2021, and it's taught by the head of production at Anchor himself. You can't get much closer to the fire than that. It walks you through gear, editing, music, scripting, publishing, basically everything in a super clear and easy way, and the instructor is great. The Skillshare platform is designed for learning, with classes that are structured into neat playlists, an option to chat with the instructor, and uploading your class projects, and there are thousands of great classes here covering things like design, photography, filmmaking, marketing, and more. The first 1,000 people to sign up using my link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium, and if you decide to keep it, the annual subscription costs less than $10 a month. So check it out, happy learning, and I'll see you next week.